Welcome. This is WNHS reporting live from the Access Center.
Hi, I'm your host Sage.
And I'm your host Chris.
Today we'll cover all the latest stories.
We will have Ian on the world's fastest Rubik's Cube, Juliana on germs, JJ on concussions,
Ian on Super Bowl history, Olivia on Colorado wildfires, and Chris on hypercars.
We will start with Ian on fascinating facts about the world's fastest Rubik's Cube and its history.
Thank you, Chris. 1, 2, 3. How fast can you solve a Rubik's Cube? Erno Rubik made the world-famous Rubik's Cube in 1979. Yosheng Du can solve it in 3 seconds. Yosheng Du is a 29-year-old male. In Wuhu, China, November 24, 2018, he set the world record. It took him exactly 3.47 seconds to solve the Rubik's Cube. That's 1.2 times faster than the last record set by Felix Zemdegs, May 6, 2018, in Melbourne, Australia. Yosheng Du has solved 21 7x7 Rubik's Cubes. That's more than 4 times larger than a 3x3 Rubik's Cube. He has also solved a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. To do this, you must remember how the cube looked when you started and turn it in your head. This is made harder as you only get 15 seconds to memorize all 54 colors on the cube. Erno Rubik also made a toy named the Rubik's Magic. It was a flat loop that can fold into itself. He made a long snake toy as well called the Rubik's Snake. This item was no puzzle. It was more of a toy. It was a long stick that each of the 24 pieces could turn in 90-degree angles, and that's the bygone times of the Rubik's hexahedron. Now back to you.
Wow, I did not know that the world record was beat. It took 3.47 seconds to solve. It probably would have taken me 3 days to solve it.
Thanks, Ian, for those fascinating facts. Now over to Aiden on Super Bowl history.
Thanks, Sage. Do you know what the Super Bowl is? It is a battle between the AFC champions and the NFC champions. This is the most important game of the year. The Super Bowl started when the AFL merged with the NFL. The owner of the NFL wanted to see who had the better league, so the NFL challenged the AFL to a game called the Super Bowl. The first Super Bowl was played January 15th, 1968, and the teams were Packers against Chiefs. Super Bowl tickets in 1968 cost $10. Today they cost around $5,000. What a crazy difference. The reason for that is because the NFL has gotten more popular over the years. The NFC has had more Super Bowl wins than the AFC. The NFC has 27 and the AFC has 26. The halftime show is one of the most important parts of the Super Bowl to people. This year, Maroon 5, Travis Scott, and Big Boy performed. Every commercial for the Super Bowl costs around $50,000 for the full commercial. That's crazy. Sometimes people call in sick the next day to school and work because they stayed up very late to watch all of the Super Bowl. People also call it a holiday because it is so important. People hang out with their friends and have a fun time. Who did you want to win? I wanted the Patriots and they won. Back to you, Sage.
Wow, I did not know the Super Bowl was a fight between the AFC and the NFC, and that the halftime show was that important.
Now we will send it over to JJ with info on concussions.
Coach, we need a medic. Are you one of the 3.8 billion people a year who suffer from a concussion? Concussions occur whenever a child's mental status changes as a result of physical trauma to the brain. Concussions can lead to persistent complaints of physical, mental, emotional, and behavioral symptoms, sometimes referred to as a post-concussion syndrome. You can get concussions by getting hit very hard in the tempo, such as boxing, playing football, and soccer. These injuries can also be caused by falls, car crashes, or recreational activities like bike riding, skateboarding, skiing, or even playing at the playground. That is why wearing a helmet to protect the head is so important during sports and recreational activities. Concussions are so commonly seen that now scientists, along with doctors, are designing new football helmets that help prevent concussions. Multiple hits to the head can cause a degenerative brain disease. Researchers are making little changes to football helmets to protect the brain. The University of Akron researchers have designed a helmet that is lined with coils that act like springs. With proper care, most people recover fully from a concussion. It is important to rest and wait 2 months to play sports again. Other restrictions are to avoid active play, loud music, and screen time. 2 months is a long time away, but I hope you have learned concussions are very serious, more serious than they sound. Now back to you, Chris.
I did not know that there were so many people suffering from concussions each year.
Yeah, so watch where you're going and stay safe. Now we'll hand it over to Olivia on harmful Colorado wildfires.
Thanks, Sage. Colorado is one of the most common places to have a wildfire. The states that get the most wildfires are Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Idaho, New Mexico, Nevada, Oregon, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. Did you know that wildfires are fueled by wind, weather, and dry underbush? According to Newsweek, weather plays a significant role in wildfires and their ability to spread, with a speed of 14 miles per hour destroying everything in its path. Firefighters refer to 3 conditions for a wildfire to burn. They are fuel, oxygen, and heat. There were 6 major wildfires out of the top 20 in Colorado. The Spring Creek wildfire burned 108,000 acres, only to be surpassed by the Hayman fire, which burned 138,000 acres. 10 miles north of Durango burned 54,000 acres. MM117 fire burned 43,000 acres. The Badger Hole fire burned 33,000 acres, and Bull Draw burned 29,000 acres. Colorado's wildfire season is May to September. Fires can happen when there's not a lot of snow on the ground or a lot of precipitation. When there was 4 months left in 2018, Colorado wildfires were creating the second worst season for Colorado. The U.S. government was at risk for Colorado wildfires. The U.S. Forest Service was impacted by the shutdown because they managed 65% of Colorado's forest, and employees were not at work. State Forester Mike Lester said, "We don't have enough staff resources to get the job done." Also, the winter months are critical for the wildfire managers to prepare for future fires. Back to you, Sage.
Cool, that's really good to know.
Yes, and it's also good for people who live near there or close to where the wildfires begin.
Now we will send over to Juliana on germs.
Thanks, Chris. Have you heard of germs? Yeah, they're all gross, right? Wrong. Some germs are good. Some germs help break down and develop into new life forms. When a plant dies, germs take over, break them down, and develop into new plants. When a plant dies, germs take over, break them down, and develop new life forms. Every plant, animal, object, and human is covered in germs. We also have something called microbes, pretty similar to cells living on us. They're good for us. Every day inside your gut, cells and bad germs have a big fight over your body. But luckily, there are more microbes on your body than germs. So most of the time, microbes win the fight. So technically, you and everyone you know is more microbe than human. Have you heard of the 5-second rule? If you haven't, here's a refresher. People tend to apply a 5-second rule when dropping food on the ground, so you can eat it if it's been on the floor for less than 5 seconds. In 2003, Jillian Clark investigated this phrase. Jillian found that 50% of men use this phrase and 70% of women use this phrase. More importantly, she found that even brief contact with the floor leads to 20% of the bacteria on the floor attaching to the food in only 1 second. In a full 5 seconds, 150 to 8,000% of the bacteria on the floor attaches to the food in 5 seconds. But how fast does bacteria move? The average bacteria moves a whopping speed of 0.00045 miles per hour. That's 67 times slower than the average garden snail. Before the 1800s, physicians maintained that illness was caused by an imbalance of four different humors, liquids, in the body. The humors were blood, black bile, yellow bile, and phlegm. This idea drew on texts attributed to the ancient Greek physician Hippocrates, who lived around 400 BC and is often called the father of medicine. Many people also thought that exposure to miasma, a foul-smelling vapor rising from decaying matter, could cause disease. Now back to you, Chris.
I'm surprised that germs on the ground go 67 times slower than a snail. That is really slow.
Ew, gross. I guess the 5-second rule is fake. Now over to Chris on the fastest news on hypercars.
Thank you, Sage. Would you like to hear what hypercars are and what they can do? Hypercars are high-end rare cars that you would not see on your local streets. According to Gear Patrol, only cars that push the boundaries of performance, technology, and design can be classified as a hypercar. There are several criteria that separate hypercars from other high-performance supercars. According to simplyautos.com, a hypercar must go over 200 miles an hour. Also, hypercars must weigh almost nothing. They may be missing parts such as stereos or AC. Finally, hypercars are hard to find. There are only a few places that you can buy one. Hypercars can sell for over $4 million. Hypercars are so expensive because they are built for lots of speed and power. The Lamborghini Aventador can go 60 miles an hour in 2.9 seconds. The average Toyota Corolla takes 9.1 seconds. That is unbelievable. You won't see hypercars driving around Londonderry streets. They're usually only found at car shows or racetracks. According to Car and Driver, hypercars will be a separate class in the World Endurance Championship in 2020. If you are interested in learning more about hypercars, check out Apex, the story of the hypercar. This 2015 American documentary describes how hypercars have changed the automotive industry. Now back to you, Sage.
What? I did not know that the hypercars could be that expensive.
Yeah, plus there are so many different hypercars.
Thank you for listening to WNHS News.
To WBZD, reporting live from the Newscast Center.
Hi, I'm Grace.
And I'm Brody.
And we're WBZD. Today we have an exciting day of news. We have an exciting day of news ahead of us, don't we, Brody?
We sure do. We have cash with wildfires.
Brody, you have a report on pandas.
Yes. Abby with dance injuries and how to prevent them. Grace with endangered Florida panthers.
That's right, Anya with Aladdin.
And Moxa with Kim Jong-un.
Now we have cash with devastating wildfires.
Thanks, Grace. Did you know wildfires can destroy a whole forest just because of one little match? States like Alaska, Idaho, and California have the most wildfire damage. 140 million acres of forests have been burned in 2015 just because of wildfires. June and August have had the most wildfire damage done at the time. In 2011, Governor Rick Perry of Texas declared 252 counties disaster areas after wildfires burned a lot of the land. Alaska is the most fire damage, with roughly 20 million acres burned every June alone. People are the major cause of wildfires because of cigarettes, matches, or unattended campfires. Lightning is also a major cause of wildfires. November has had only 2 million acres burned since 1992, which is very low. The Camp Fire and the Woolsey Fire, two big fires in California, cause wildfires to become a year-round threat there. Firefighters use airplanes and helicopters to fight fires in remote areas such as a valley or deep woodland. Louisiana has become the least affected area with only 15% of the acres burned. The northeastern states are also around 20%, being very low. The Mendocino Complex fire burned 459,000 acres alone. It happened only a few months before the other fires. On the East Coast, the two hot spots for wildfires are near the George-Washington National Forest and Florida. Oklahoma also has been affected a lot by fires recently. Wildfires last year did the most damage during August. One of the California fires caused almost the entire town of Paradise to get destroyed. Nearly 85% of U.S. wildfires have been caused by humans. Lots of people are affected by wildfires even though they are far away. Many of the animals that are hurt and can't escape from the fire without help. Wildfires can be very big and strong. What can you do to help? For one, make sure your campfires are completely out when you leave. Also make sure the items such as a match you use is picked up and thrown out. Also don't throw your cigarettes on the ground near a forest or undergrowth. Be careful with what you are handling near flammable material. If you're careful near flammable things, then you'll be safe from fires. Back to you, Grace.
Geez, I never knew they were that dangerous.
You're telling me.
Now we have Brody with the famous giant panda bear.
Thanks, Grace. Did you know that the giant panda bear is a vulnerable species? Since the 1940s, the Chinese government has worked to conserve and protect the habitat of its wildlife, but the giant panda had became endangered in the 1990s. One reason is because of the exorbitant poaching in the 1980s. Also, the bamboo forests are being cut down to build houses. Pandas used to live in the lowland, but farming forests can restrict pandas to the mountains. These factors have depleted pandas' main food source, as they must eat large quantities, as much as 85 pounds of bamboo each day. Climate change could also destroy 35% bamboo forests. According to factsforme.com, there are only about 1,000 giant pandas left. That's just sad, and aren't they worth the saving? Back to you, Grace.
Wow, I never knew pandas ate 85 pounds of bamboo a day.
Yes, they're pretty impressive. Now we have Abby with dance injuries and how to prevent them.
Thanks, Brody. Do you think there's a way for dancers to not get hurt while dancing? Well, I do. There are a couple of ways to prevent injuries, such as stretching before you dance and doing those stretches correctly. Your dance teacher should teach you some appropriate stretches and how to do them properly. Your dance shoes can also affect your dancing. You do not want to dance with your shoes too big or too small. You want them to fit just right. If they are too big, then you can sprain an ankle, especially in tap shoes. If they are too small, you can either hurt your toes really badly, or if you move your toes wrong, you could end up breaking your toe or toes. Some of the other injuries that could occur while dancing are sprains and strains, where muscles and ligaments are overstretched or twisted, impact injuries such as bruised caused by falling over, bumping into other dancers, or tripping over props. Blisters, bruising, and ingrown toenails, all due to ill-fitting shoes. Low back pain, and stretch fractures. 95% of dancers has at least one injury in their lifetime. You also have to drink plenty of water because you do not want to get dehydrated. If you get dehydrated, you can pass out or faint. You do not want that to happen. To avoid injuries, please make sure your dance shoes fit properly and drink plenty of water and stretch, stretch, stretch. Thank you. Back to you, Brody.
I had no clue dance was so complex.
Yeah.
Now we have Grace with why Florida Panthers are in grave danger.
Thanks, Brody. Florida Panthers. We have to save them. The Florida Panthers are endangered. Due to habitat loss and illegal hunting, these majestic creatures could go extinct. Here's some background knowledge on the Florida Panthers. The Florida panther is an animal that lives in Florida. Their diet consists of deer, wild hogs, rabbits, birds, and armadillo. A male is called a panther and a female is a pantheress. A group of panthers is called a leap. A baby is called a cub. There are a couple ways they are getting killed or hurt. I have already told you that they are getting killed by illegal hunting, but there are more ways. More and more people are moving to Florida, so there's less and less space for the panthers. People make roads where they live, and as a result, they often get run over. Pesticides are also a threat. There are now about 100 to 180 panthers in the wild. They used to be found from Texas to Florida, but now they're only found in Florida. The Nature Conservancy is a group that protects land and animals. Ways to protect these animals is to conserve land for these creatures. If you would like to donate, go to nature.org/panther. Save the Florida Panthers. Back to you, Brody.
I never knew that there are only 100 to 180 Florida Panthers in the wild.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. Now we have on yellow with Aladdin.
Thank you, Grace. This year, the North School Drama Club did a play called Aladdin. This year, the 4th and 5th graders had a chance to audition for the play. We had 88 students in the play. We had rehearsals in the school cafeteria almost every Tuesday and Thursday, starting from 3:20 to 4:45. When North School first did plays, they were in the gym. Now we perform them at the Palace Theatre in Manchester. The reason why Mrs. Laporte did Aladdin this year for a play was because it was the first play we ever did. Mrs. Laporte started doing plays because she loves drama and it's a way for kids to express themselves. This year, the play took place at the Palace Theatre on March 20th, 2019. We also had a very talented volunteer, Mrs. Stook, who had designed and made all the play's costumes. She was a substitute in many classrooms. Unfortunately, she was retired, but had agreed to help with the costumes. She had also made costumes for The Lion King, Hunk, and Seussical. Thanks to a great team of volunteers, we were able to perform this play, and I think this is such a great experience for the students of North School. I hope this story encourages you to be in a play or a musical when you get the chance. Back to you, Grace.
Cool. Now I wish I were in Aladdin.
I was in Aladdin and it was cool. Now we have Mox with Kim Jong-un.
Thanks, Brody. In T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. But why don't we drop the bomb? Kim Jong-un is the supreme leader of North Korea. In 2011, succeeding his father, Kim Jong-il, He continued testing missiles as his father had. He was testing missiles to create an intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM. If he succeeds, his missiles can reach everywhere except Latin America and Antarctica. The whole world's in danger because North Korea's bombs can cause a war. After the victory of the Allied forces in World War II, which ended Japan's rule of Korea, the U.S., South Korea, and the USSR, North Korea, agreed to temporarily divide and occupy Korea as a trusteeship. This timed arrangement was hoped to help establish an independent government in a united Korea. However, war broke out between North and South Korea in 1950. When the war ended in 1953, North Korea continued to run as a communist country. In 2017, Donald Trump of the USA came to visit Kim to discuss an end to testing missiles. Kim did stop testing the missiles, but he didn't stop making them. North Korea is working to protect the missiles before Trump's second talk with Kim Jong-un. In April 2018, Kim met with South Korean President Moon Jae-in. The president swore removing nuclear weapons from the Korean countries. In June, Kim and Trump held a meeting that ended up in the same agreement to stop using missiles. The United States also agreed to stop military exercises with South Korea. But if he has the launch pad on his desk, are we truly safe from him starting a war? And that's it for Drop Bomb. Thank you, Brody. Back to you.
That is, geez, that was scary. War could happen any second according to that story.
Yeah, that's all the time we have.
Thanks for watching.
Bye from all of us at WBZD.
This is WMOM live from the Newscast Center.
Hi, I'm Aiden.
Hi, I'm Avery.
Today we have some exciting news.
Today we have Aiden with why school should start later, Faith with local United Girls and Boys Soccer, Parker telling us about tornadoes.
Avery with pandas, we have Kylie with army leopards, Bryson with Fortnite addictions, and Nick with soccer.
Yes, today we'll start with Aiden, who thinks school should start later.
Thanks, Avery. Do you think school should start later? A recent ABC survey said that 78% of American teens can't wake up in the morning, and only 60% say that they get enough sleep. Only 60%? That's not good. 70% of teens say if they got more sleep, they would feel more alert in the morning, and they would also get better grades. The National Academy of Sciences say that the best time to take a test is between 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. In our body, we have this thing called circadian rhythm. It is basically a 24-hour internal clock that is running in the background of your brain. It cycles between sleepiness, alertness, and is tied to our psychological processes. This rhythm is maintained in part by melatonin, a hormone secreted by hypothalamus. It also tells our body when to sleep, rise, and eat. If teens get more rest, they will feel more alert in the evening. This is because your body doesn't release its natural melatonin until later. So that means they don't feel tired until 11 p.m. to midnight. So if they start school later, it will allow teens to have the correct circadian rhythm and let their natural melatonin increase. That's why I think school should start later. Now back to you, Avery.
Wow, I did not know more sleep mattered for school.
Yes, I know it. It really does matter. Now we have Kylie with army leopards.
We all love leopards, but specific breeds of leopards are highly endangered. As of right now, there are only 30 or 40 left in the world. They live in the far eastern side of Russia. They are predators, so they usually snack on wild boar, musk deer, fox, squirrels, and hedgehogs. In the Amur leopard's habitat, they get cold, snowy winters and hot summers. The Amur leopards get lucky in the winter because their fur can grow 7.5 centimeters long, and it goes pale in the winter, so they can camouflage in the snow, which makes it easier to sneak up on prey. The Amur leopards are mammals which can weigh between 55 to 100 pounds and can live to be 10 to 15 years old in the wild. The leopards are getting shot and killed by hunters who want their fur to sell or so they can mount their heads. Cities are taking over the Amur leopard's habitat and making them into hunting grounds, and the residents are coming to kill the Amur leopards because they are a nuisance. There's a big cat sanctuary that saves them. They feed them and take care of them. There are other leopards there so they can breed and bring up their population. So why kill an innocent animal? Hunting shouldn't be a sport, it should be a crime. Now back to you, Aiden.
Armu leopards seem so cool.
Yeah, I was surprised to see they can live in cold weather. Next, we have Faith with the United Boys and Girls Soccer.
Thank you, Avery. The Londonderry Soccer Club is a program for girls and boys ages 2.5 to 18 to learn how to play soccer and improve their skills. The club is divided into two parts. One is Express Rec and the other is United Travel. The travel program is more competitive. Players try out at the end of the spring season for the upcoming fall season. This program is available for ages 8 and up. Recently, I asked the head coach for the girls U11, U12 team, Ariel Texiera, to answer some questions about her team. I asked her if she had kept the older players that have been on the team in past years. She responded that she does try to keep the older players that have been on the team before because they are the building blocks of the team. They're able to be good leaders and role models for the younger girls who will be new to the team. Head coach Ariel explains the best way to have her players communicate with her is raising their hand whenever they need a break. They swap out players occasionally, and if they need a drink of water, they can go to the sidelines. Their water bottle is passed to them so they don't have to be subbed out. During practices, they focus on specific drills. Coach Ariel says that practicing on your own technique and passing works well. Without those two things, she feels the team wouldn't be very successful in games. With the younger girls on the team, it's all about passing pattern drills, juggling, and possession games to focus on individual growth. Maybe you can come join the team. Remember, tryouts are in the spring, so go to their website at londonderrysoccer.org. Back to you, Avery.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Yes, it sounds really fun. Now we have Bryson with Fortnite addictions.
Thanks, Aiden. Did you know that playing video games can be addictive? According to WebMD.com, this addiction is a psychological disorder that is becoming more popular. For example, 2 million people have registered to play the game Fortnite, and many kids are playing it for many hours. The gamers get less sleep, have trouble doing schoolwork, don't socialize with friends, and can acquire injuries to the eyes and wrists from overuse. Some professional athletes are also getting obsessed with Fortnite. The Vancouver Canucks hockey team have banned Fortnite on the road for their players because they weren't showing up on time for meetings. David Price, a Red Sox pitcher, was scratched from a game because of a wrist injury that may have been caused by playing Fortnite. People who are addicted to Fortnite can have withdrawal symptoms that include becoming angry, violent, or depressed when gaming is taken away. What should we do to curb some problems? Parents need to unplug the TV to solve the problem. It takes 90 days to change your brain back from the negative impact from the video game. Back to you, Aiden.
I didn't know a game could have such a big effect on people.
Yeah, it really does.
Next, we have Avery with pandas.
Thanks, Aiden. The giant panda is cute and popular around the world. It is also a national treasure in China. However, according to the Wildlife Foundation, the giant panda is one of the most rarest and most endangered bears in the world. Poaching and destruction of their habitats cause the panda to become endangered. Pandas only eat one thing, which is bamboo. Comes from bamboo trees, increases development and destruction of bamboo forests. The remaining wild pandas live in Mission and Quillen's Mountain. China has been trying to protect these pandas by starting reserves of bamboo-rich public lands. Also, China made a series of wildlife corridors where they are continuous areas that connect to bigger reserves. They are also breeding in zoos. Finally, they are trying to reintroduce pandas back into the wild. Save the cute and lovable pandas. Back to you, Aiden.
I hope they save the pandas.
Yeah, I hope the reserves help them too. Next we have Parker with tornadoes.
Watch out, tornado. Thanks, Avery. Have you ever seen a tornado? Have you been near one? Do you even know what a tornado is? If not, I can tell you. Tornadoes start with thunderstorm clouds, very moist air, such as from the Gulf of Mexico, meets cool, dry air, such as from Canada. When they meet, it causes an instability. The air rises and causes the air to flow in a motion which forms a funnel. Tornadoes are classified according to the Fujita scale. The categories run from an F0 up to an F5. F0 carries 40 to 72 mile per hour winds with light damage, while an F5 has 261 to 318 mile per hour winds with incredible damage. The Delta Bar Tsuchitara tornado was the deadliest tornado. It left
80,000 people homeless, 12,000 people were injured and killed 1,300 people. Altogether, it affected 95,000 people. According to the North Center for Educational Information, most tornadoes occur in an area of the U.S. called Tornado Alley. Located in the South Central Plains, it typically has about 500 tornadoes a year. Florida also has many tornadoes due to the daily thunderstorms. Some tips to be safe in a tornado if you're inside is go to the lowest place in the building, preferably in a room with no windows. Stay in the center of the room and get under a heavy piece of furniture, and avoid high roofs like a cafeteria. Then put your hands over your head and neck. If you're outdoors when a tornado comes and there is no time to reach shelter, lie in a lower area. Do you know a lot more about tornadoes? I hope you do. Stay safe, and back to you, Avery.
I did not know how a tornado worked.
Yes, next we have Nick with a story about soccer.
Thanks, Aiden. He shoots and he scores. Have you ever dreamed about becoming a professional soccer player? Soccer has been the fastest growing sport in the United States. According to worldbook.com, the Major League Soccer was officially formed in 1993. There are 24 teams in the league, with 21 teams in the United States and 3 teams in Canada. The teams play from March to October, with playoffs beginning at the end of October to December. The winner takes home the Major League Soccer Cup. The World Cup is played every 4 years between 32 of the best men's soccer teams around the world. According to History.com, the first World Cup was The first World Cup was played in 1930, after it was announced that soccer would be dropped from the 1932 Olympics. That first World Cup was won by France. Teams battled for 3 years to qualify to compete for the World Cup finals. The current champion is France, with Brazil being the top winning team of all time with 5 wins. Qatar will be hosting the 2022 finals. In order to become a professional soccer player, there are many soccer academies in the United States and Europe to consider for intensive training. High-performance academies are located in England, United States, Barcelona, Valencia. Students from ages 13 to 21 live, train, learn about nutrition, and study to get an education, to build skills, character, and prepare to become a professional soccer player. Some academies have students go to school and train all year long. Participants compete in games and tournaments almost every weekend. One of the top academies is the Grand Sports Academy in Arizona. The academy has partnered with the Barcelona international team. It is hard work when you become a professional soccer player, but for people who love soccer, they feel it's easy and fun. Back to you, Aiden.
There have been a lot of World Cups.
Well, that's all the stories I have for you today.
Bye.